John Hargrove was a man defined by resilience, though life had given him little reason to hope. Each day began with the same routine, waking up to the creak of the old wooden floor in his tiny workshop, its air heavy with the smell of worn leather and glue. The walls were lined with shelves holding scraps of material and tools, many of which had seen better days. Customers trickled in sporadically, bringing shoes that were more holes than leather, offering just enough payment to cover his next meal. Despite the monotony, John took pride in his craft, pouring care into every stitch and repair, even if his work often went unnoticed or unappreciated. In the quiet moments, when the hammering ceased and the sun dipped below the horizon, John allowed himself to dream. He imagined a life where his skills were celebrated, where he could create beautiful, original designs rather than merely patching up the old and discarded. Yet, the weight of reality always seemed to crush those aspirations. His clothes were threadbare, and the roof of his workshop leaked whenever it rained, a constant reminder of his struggles. Still, within the depths of his weariness, there burned a small, unyielding spark, a belief that, perhaps, someday, life would offer him a chance to change his fortune. As the rain poured relentlessly outside, its rhythmic tapping on the roof providing a melancholic soundtrack, John's hands worked tirelessly to repair yet another battered shoe. He paused for a moment, his back aching from hours of bending over his workbench, and leaned against the rickety floorboards. His weight caused one of the planks to shift slightly, revealing a small gap beneath. Intrigued, he pried it open with his calloused fingers, uncovering a hidden compartment. Nestled in the shadows was a gold coin, gleaming faintly even in the dim light of the workshop. The coin felt heavy in his palm, its surface adorned with intricate engravings that seemed to shimmer as he tilted it, as though it held secrets far beyond its appearance. John stared at the coin, a sense of wonder and unease washing over him. He had never encountered anything like it. Its craftsmanship was exquisite, the patterns etched on it unlike any he had seen in books or during his humble travels. A faint warmth radiated from the metal, as though it were alive with a quiet, mysterious energy. For a fleeting moment, the despair of his daily life seemed to lift, replaced by a mix of curiosity and hope. What was this coin? Why had it been hidden here in his modest workshop? The questions circled his mind as he clutched it tightly, feeling as though he had stumbled upon not just a piece of gold, but the key to a destiny he had yet to unravel. The next morning, unable to contain his curiosity, John wrapped the coin in a scrap of cloth and set out to visit Mr. Cartwright, the town's most knowledgeable jeweler. Mr. Cartwright's shop, though modest, was a world apart from John's crumbling workshop. Its polished counters glimmered with neatly arranged jewelry, and the air smelled faintly of lavender oil. When John presented the coin, Mr. Cartwright's eyes widened in astonishment. He adjusted his glasses, studying the artifact under a magnifying lens with the focus of a man unearthing a hidden treasure. The jeweler's usually calm demeanor gave way to excitement as he explained that the coin was an antique, likely centuries old, and highly valuable not just in gold but as a collector's item. Each engraving told a story, he said, though its origins remained a mystery even to him. For John, the revelation was both exhilarating and surreal. He listened intently, his heart pounding with a mix of disbelief and cautious optimism. This single discovery, unearthed by chance in his weathered workshop, felt like a crack in the dark wall of his hardships, allowing a beam of light to shine through. As Mr. Cartwright spoke, John's mind raced with possibilities. Could this coin be the answer to his prayers? Could it lift him out of the relentless cycle of poverty and into a life he had only dared to imagine? For the first time in years, the weight on his shoulders seemed to ease, replaced by the tantalizing notion that his bleak existence might not define his future after all. John spent sleepless nights wrestling with the decision. The coin sat on the small wooden table beside his bed, catching the faint glow of the moonlight that filtered through the cracked window. Its golden surface seemed almost alive, reflecting more than just light. It reflected his dreams, his fears, and the weight of his struggles. Selling it could provide immediate relief. New tools, a repaired roof, maybe even a small cushion of security he had never known. Yet, every time he held it, a strange sense of calm and possibility washed over him, as if the coin itself whispered promises of a brighter future. He found himself questioning whether it was mere sentimentality or something deeper that made him hesitant to part with it. By day, John carried the coin in his pocket, finding comfort in its presence. Every small success, finishing a difficult repair, receiving a kind word from a customer, or simply making it through another long day, seemed amplified, as if the coin had shifted his fortunes in imperceptible ways. He couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just an object of value. It was a symbol of hope, a beacon guiding him towards something greater than what he could see now. Though practical logic urged him to sell it and solve his immediate problems, John chose to trust his instincts. The coin, he decided, was not merely a tool to escape his current plight. It was a key to unlocking a future he had yet to understand. The storm arrived with little warning, its howling winds tearing through the town as rain lashed against the windows in unrelenting sheets. John had barely managed to secure the shutters of his workshop before the gale grew too fierce to resist. Huddled in a corner, he listened helplessly as the roof groaned under the pressure. The sound of splintering would piercing the night. By morning, the damage was devastating. His tools were scattered, many broken beyond repair, and the rain-soaked interior reeked of damp leather and mud. The modest workshop he had worked so hard to maintain now lay in ruins, leaving him with little more than his bare hands and dwindling hope. Despite the despair, John instinctively reached for the coin in his pocket. Its smooth, familiar surface grounded him, a quiet reminder of resilience. As he held it, he felt a flicker of determination rise within him, pushing back against the crushing weight of his circumstances. The storm had taken much, but it hadn't taken everything. The coin became more than just a keepsake. It became a symbol of perseverance. Clutching it tightly, he resolved not to let the setback define him. He began to gather the remnants of his workshop, salvaging what little he could, all the while whispering to himself that this, too, was just another step on the road to something greater. The stranger's arrival was unexpected, a sharp contrast to the usual stream of humble customers who frequented John's workshop. Robert Caldwell stepped in with an air of confidence, his tailored suit and polished demeanor marking him as a man of wealth and influence. He surveyed the modest space with an expression of faint curiosity before turning his sharp gaze to John. With a tone both commanding and cordial, he explained his need for a pair of custom-made shoes, something unique and elegant for an exclusive gala. John, though taken aback by the man's presence, listened intently, his hands nervously fiddling with a scrap of leather. Opportunities like this were rare, and he sensed that this could be the break he had been waiting for. After examining a few of John's finished pieces, Robert nodded in approval, his reserved smile hinting at genuine admiration for the craftsmanship. "You have a rare talent," he remarked, leaning against the workbench. "If you can create something truly remarkable for my event, I'll make sure the right people see it. This could open doors for you." The offer was enticing, yet it carried an undercurrent of risk. John hesitated, aware that his reputation and resources were on the line. Still, the thought of his designs being showcased to an audience of influential elites sparked a sense of determination. With a firm handshake, he accepted the challenge, already envisioning the intricate details of the shoes he would craft, pouring every ounce of his skill and creativity into what he hoped would be a turning point in his life. John approached the task with an intensity and passion he had never felt before. He worked late into the nights, sketching designs, cutting leather, and stitching with precision that bordered on perfectionism. Each detail of the shoes was meticulously planned, from the smooth curve of the arch to the delicate hand-tooled patterns on the surface. The shoes were not merely functional. They were a work of art, a reflection of his years of dedication to a craft often overlooked. Despite his limited resources and the shadow of doubt that lingered in his mind, he refused to compromise. These shoes would not only define his skill but also serve as a testament to his potential. When the day of the gala finally arrived, John stood in the corner of the grand hall, his modest attire starkly contrasting the opulence around him. Crystal chandeliers illuminated the room, casting a warm glow over the elegantly dressed crowd. Robert Caldwell, wearing the shoes John had crafted, moved through the gathering with confidence, drawing the attention of several guests. One by one, patrons approached, eager to know who had created such fine footwear. Robert, true to his word, gestured toward John, introducing him as the artisan behind the masterpiece. The room buzzed with admiration, and John's heart swelled with a mix of pride and disbelief. For the first time, his work was not only seen but celebrated, opening a door to opportunities he had only dared to dream of. As the orders began to pour in, John found himself busier than ever. Wealthy clients from the gala were eager to own a pair of his custom shoes, their praise spreading his name beyond the small town. Each day brought new challenges and excitement, and for the first time, John felt a glimmer of stability and hope. But this newfound success came with a shadow. Robert Caldwell reappeared, no longer the charming benefactor but a shrewd businessman. He claimed that his introduction at the gala entitled him to a substantial portion of John's earnings. His tone was firm, almost threatening, as he produced a hastily written agreement, demanding an amount that would leave John with little to show for his hard work. John's initial reaction was shock and disbelief. He had been so focused on seizing the opportunity that he hadn't considered how easily it could be turned against him. As Robert's demands grew more insistent, John felt a sense of dread settle over him. Yet, deep down, he knew he couldn't allow someone else to control the fruits of his labor. Summoning courage he hadn't known he possessed, John began to push back. He reviewed the supposed agreement, questioning its validity and pointing out its lack of fairness. Though Robert attempted to intimidate him, John stood firm, realizing that his worth was no longer something he could afford to undervalue. This was his craft, his livelihood, and his future, and he wasn't going to let anyone take it from him. In the quiet, suffocating stillness of his workshop, John sat hunched over his workbench, the dim light of a single candle casting long shadows on the walls. The weight of his struggles bore down on him more than ever, and for the first time he felt close to breaking. Clutching the coin tightly in his hand, he whispered a silent plea for guidance, desperation thick in his voice. The cool, smooth surface of the coin seemed to pulse faintly, as if it carried within it an answer waiting to be revealed. Exhausted and drained, John finally laid his head down amidst scattered tools and scraps of leather, surrendering to sleep with the coin still pressed against his palm. That night, his dreams unfolded with vivid clarity. He saw himself in a space filled with light, working on a design unlike any he had created before. The image of the shoe was sharp and precise, a perfect fusion of form and function, blending timeless elegance with unmatched comfort. Details he had never considered before danced in his mind. An innovative arch support system, subtle but striking patterns, and a fit so seamless it seemed molded to the wearer's foot. When he awoke, the vision lingered, etched into his memory as if it had been placed there with purpose. Driven by a newfound determination, John began sketching feverishly, transferring the dream to paper. The design was not just a shoe. It was an embodiment of his resilience, a creation born from his darkest hour that promised to be his beacon of hope. John awoke with a clarity he hadn't felt in years, the memory of his dream vivid and urgent. Without hesitation, he set to work, sketching the intricate design on the back of an old ledger. Every line, curve, and detail seemed to flow effortlessly from his mind to the paper, as if the shoe had always existed and was merely waiting to be brought to life. Once the design was finalized, he dove into the crafting process, pouring every ounce of skill and dedication he had into each step. The materials, though limited, were chosen with care, and his tools, though worn, moved with a precision that seemed almost instinctive. Each stitch was imbued with purpose, each cut made with the confidence of someone who believed this creation could change everything. As the days turned into weeks, John's focus was unwavering. He tuned out Robert's increasingly aggressive threats, his voice growing more distant with each passing day. Instead, he immersed himself in the work, letting the coin's presence in his pocket serve as a quiet reminder of the hope he carried. Slowly, whispers of John's groundbreaking design began to ripple beyond the confines of the town. A traveling merchant caught sight of one of his prototypes and spread word of the shoemaker's remarkable creation to distant clients. Letters of inquiry started arriving, some from cities John had only heard of in passing. For the first time, his name was mentioned not just in admiration but in genuine excitement, as his work began to transcend the boundaries of his humble beginnings. One dark evening, as John was locking up his workshop after another long day of work, shadows moved in the corners of the quiet street. The next morning, he returned to find his sanctuary in shambles. The wooden door hung ajar, its hinges broken. Inside, his tools were scattered and destroyed, the carefully organized shelves overturned, and the precious prototype of his new design lay trampled on the floor. The destruction was cruel and deliberate, the work of men paid to sabotage everything he had built. John's heart sank as he surveyed the wreckage, a sinking feeling confirming what he already suspected. This was Robert's doing, a retaliation for his refusal to submit. For a moment, despair threatened to consume him. He sat amidst the ruins, his head in his hands, the enormity of the setback weighing heavily on his shoulders. Then, as his fingers brushed against the coin in his pocket, he felt a strange warmth emanating from it. Taking it out, he held it tightly, its golden surface gleaming faintly despite the dim light. It was a small, almost imperceptible sign, but it reignited a spark of resilience within him. Gathering himself, John decided that this act of destruction would not define his journey. With determination etched on his face, he began picking up the pieces, salvaging what he could. He vowed not to let Robert's malice extinguish the dream he had worked so hard to bring to life. The workshop could be repaired, the tools replaced, but his resolve was unbreakable. News of John's struggles reached Elizabeth Sterling, a well-known philanthropist with a reputation for supporting artisans and small businesses. Intrigued by the story of a shoemaker whose innovative designs had begun to attract attention despite the odds stacked against him, she decided to visit his workshop. When she arrived, she found John amidst the remnants of his damaged workspace, meticulously working with the few tools he had salvaged. Elizabeth observed him in silence for a moment, noting the focus and care he poured into his craft, even under such dire circumstances. She introduced herself with a gentle but commanding presence, immediately putting John at ease as she inquired about his work and his journey. As John shared his story, speaking of the challenges he had faced and the dream that kept him going, Elizabeth listened intently. She was struck not only by his resilience but by the sheer brilliance of his designs, which were unlike anything she had seen. The balance of practicality and artistry in his work reflected a rare talent that deserved to flourish. Without hesitation, Elizabeth offered to finance a new workshop for John, providing him with the resources he needed to fully realize his potential. Her confidence in his abilities reignited John's hope, and for the first time, he saw a clear path forward. The partnership marked the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with possibility and the promise of growth. With Elizabeth's generous support, John transformed his vision into reality. In the heart of the bustling city, he opened a sleek, modern workshop that stood in stark contrast to his humble beginnings. The new space was everything he had ever dreamed of: polished wooden floors, expansive windows that flooded the room with natural light, and state-of-the-art equipment that allowed him to refine his craft to perfection. The workshop's design reflected his own story, blending tradition with innovation. A plaque at the entrance proudly displayed his name, symbolizing not just a place of business, but a beacon of perseverance and creativity. The grand opening was a spectacle that exceeded John's wildest expectations. Elizabeth's network ensured that the event drew attention from influential figures in fashion, business, and even art. Guests marveled at his innovative designs, which were displayed like pieces of fine art on elegant stands. Each shoe told a story, captivating everyone who saw them. Orders began pouring in almost immediately, and his work quickly became a sensation, celebrated in elite circles and beyond. For the first time, John was not just a shoemaker but a creator whose vision resonated with people on a deeper level. The workshop buzzed with activity, its walls alive with the sound of progress and the promise of an extraordinary future. As John's reputation grew, so did the attention from powerful corporations eager to capitalize on his success. Representatives from well-known brands visited his workshop, offering lucrative deals to mass-produce his unique designs. The promises were enticing: vast financial rewards, global distribution, and the chance to see his shoes worn by countless people. Yet, with each offer came clauses that gnawed at him, clauses that would strip him of creative control, turning his art into mere commodities. John found himself torn between the temptation of wealth and the fear of losing the essence of what made his work special. The very soul of his craft, nurtured through years of struggle, seemed at risk of being overshadowed by profit-driven agendas. Feeling the weight of the decision, John turned to Elizabeth for guidance. Over tea in her elegantly appointed home, he laid out his dilemma. Elizabeth listened intently, her wisdom evident in the thoughtful silence she maintained before speaking. She reminded John of the journey that had brought him this far, emphasizing the importance of staying true to his vision. "Your shoes are more than products," she said gently. "They carry your story, your artistry, and your values. No amount of money can replace that." Her words resonated deeply with John, providing clarity amidst the noise of corporate offers. Inspired by her advice, he decided to explore alternatives that would allow him to grow his business while preserving the integrity of his designs, reaffirming his commitment to his craft. Just as John was beginning to savor the fruits of his hard work, Robert Caldwell reappeared like a specter from the past, this time with a new scheme to undermine him. Armed with falsified documents, Robert boldly claimed ownership of John's original designs, alleging that their earlier arrangement entitled him to a significant share of the business. His threats were laced with confidence, as he warned John of impending legal action if he didn't comply. It was a calculated move, designed to exploit fear and exhaustion. But this time, John was no longer the vulnerable shoemaker Robert had once intimidated. With Elizabeth's unwavering support, John assembled a formidable legal team, leveraging her connections to hire top-tier attorneys who specialized in intellectual property and business law. The ensuing battle was intense, with Robert employing every underhanded tactic in an attempt to twist the narrative in his favor. However, The evidence of John's hard work, paired with the authenticity of his designs and the strength of his testimony, painted a compelling picture in court. The legal team meticulously dismantled Robert's claims, exposing his deceit for all to see. When the final verdict came, it was resoundingly in John's favor, not only protecting his business but also solidifying his reputation as an honest and resilient craftsman. Robert's defeat was a turning point, reinforcing John's resolve to guard his legacy against those who sought to exploit it. The courtroom was a tense arena, filled with the hum of whispered speculation and the weight of anticipation. Robert stood with an air of arrogance, his lawyers weaving a narrative designed to discredit John and cast doubt on his ownership of the designs. They questioned his humble beginnings, insinuating that someone of his modest background couldn't have created such groundbreaking work. Documents, altered to suit Robert's claims, were presented as evidence, and the court's atmosphere grew heavy with the tension of his accusations. John, though nervous, remained steadfast. He knew the truth and was determined to defend his work, no matter how grueling the process became. When it was John's turn to present his case, his lawyers meticulously outlined the timeline of his designs, showcasing sketches, prototypes, and correspondence that undeniably bore his mark. Witnesses, including Elizabeth and longtime clients, attested to John's character and work ethic, painting a vivid picture of a man who had poured his soul into his craft. When John himself spoke, his words were simple yet powerful. He recounted his journey with unshakable honesty, his voice steady as he detailed the countless hours spent bringing his designs to life. The jury, moved by his integrity and the overwhelming evidence found in his favor. The verdict not only cleared John's name but publicly exposed Robert as a fraud, his carefully constructed facade crumbling under the weight of the truth. It was a triumphant moment for John, a vindication of his hard work and an enduring testament to his perseverance. The trial's conclusion marked a turning point in John's life, thrusting him into a spotlight brighter than he had ever imagined. The story of the humble shoemaker who stood up against deception and defended his craft resonated with people far and wide. News articles and social media buzz celebrated not only his legal victory but also the artistry and authenticity of his work. Orders flooded in from clients who admired not just his designs but the integrity behind them. The fame brought with it opportunities to expand his business, but John approached this new chapter with a sense of purpose that went beyond profit. As his success grew, John began to reflect on the deeper meaning of his journey. He realized his workshop was more than just a place for creating shoes. It was a testament to resilience and passion. Inspired by the support he had received during his hardest times, he started mentoring young artisans, offering them the chance to hone their skills and pursue their dreams. His workshop became a hub of creativity and learning, where craftsmanship and character were equally valued. Through his work and his story, John sought to remind others that success was not just about wealth or recognition, but about staying true to one's values and inspiring others to do the same. Motivated by his journey and the challenges he had overcome, John launched a foundation dedicated to supporting young artisans who, like him, faced barriers to pursuing their dreams. The foundation provided aspiring craftsmen with access to quality tools, training programs, and mentorship opportunities. John personally oversaw many of the workshops, sharing his techniques and encouraging innovation while emphasizing the importance of perseverance and integrity in their work. He created scholarships for those who couldn't afford materials or equipment, ensuring that talent and passion were never stifled by financial limitations. As the foundation flourished, so did John's reputation within the community. He wasn't just seen as a successful businessman, but as a mentor and benefactor who genuinely cared about uplifting others. John's humility remained unchanged. Despite his fame, he continued to work alongside his protégés, often rolling up his sleeves to demonstrate a particular stitch or pattern. Local events were filled with testimonies of people whose lives had been transformed by his generosity. His name became synonymous with hope and opportunity, and his influence extended far beyond his workshop. Through his foundation, John not only nurtured a new generation of artisans, but also left a legacy of kindness and inspiration that resonated across the community. Years later, during a bustling artisan fair where John's foundation was showcasing its latest creations, he encountered an elderly antique dealer who paused to admire his display. As they chatted, the dealer's eyes fell on the coin, which John had kept with him as a cherished keepsake and talisman. Intrigued, the dealer asked to examine it closely. Turning the coin over in his hands, the dealer's expression shifted to one of astonishment. He explained that the coin was part of an ancient legend, a rare artifact believed to embody the spirit of perseverance. The engravings, he said, symbolize the power of belief in one's ability to overcome adversity, a reminder that true strength comes from within. The revelation struck John deeply. As the dealer spoke, he reflected on his journey, the challenges he had faced, the moments of doubt, and the triumphs he had earned through sheer determination. He realized that the coin, while remarkable in its history, had not been the source of his success. Its magic had been a catalyst, a silent encourager that sparked his own resilience and creativity. Everything he had achieved stemmed from his unyielding drive and faith in himself, even when the odds were against him. Holding the coin once more, John smiled, understanding it for what it truly was, a symbol of the strength that had always been within him, guiding him toward the life he had built through his own hands and heart. John's rise from a struggling shoemaker to a celebrated entrepreneur became a story told far and wide, inspiring countless individuals. His name was no longer just associated with craftsmanship, but also with resilience, creativity, and unwavering determination. People from all walks of life, from aspiring artisans to seasoned professionals, came to visit his workshop not just to see his innovative designs, but to draw inspiration from his remarkable journey. The tale of his perseverance, bolstered by the mysterious coin, took on a life of its own, evolving into a legend that resonated deeply with anyone who had ever dared to dream against the odds. In a glass case at the center of his workshop, the shoemaker's lucky coin was proudly displayed, its golden surface gleaming under the soft light. Visitors marveled at it, captivated by its story, but John always made sure to emphasize the true moral behind the legend. "This coin didn't bring me luck," he would tell them with a smile. "It reminded me to keep going, no matter how hard things got." For John, the coin was a testament to the power of belief, effort, and resilience. A symbol that luck is not a force bestowed upon the fortunate, but something created through relentless striving. Its presence served as a beacon of hope, a reminder that every great journey begins with a single step and an unwavering commitment to move forward.